Hello my friends and welcome to this walkthrough of the text guides with me, Golf Clash Tommy, and Mr. RJ TV. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh man, I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here again.
That's awesome. Makes me happy to have you here. As I said from the beginning, we're going to go through the text guides, hole 1 to 9 in the New York Classic Tournament. Before we start, we just want to make one thing clear. You can see some snow here on the text guides. It doesn't mean that we will have snow in the tournament. These holes were featured during the Christmas tournament, and I think it's important to have in mind that we are going to play these holes like regular summer holes. If we just didn't have time to find the new pictures for it before the text guys had to go out to the players. So, that was a little bit longer intro than I thought, but we're going to get going. I'm going to drop the ball over to you, RJ. Hole number 1. How do we play this one?
This one, I really like your white line. That's the way I've been playing since they opened these up for us on Tour 6.
Hmm?
I like to use my Saturn with a lot of backspin and left spin to help me get a little bit closer. However, all rookies may not have a Saturn, so a backbone should work as well. Should have enough backspin on that. I just like the accuracy, of both, and the ball guide of the Saturn really helps me out on this hole.
I agree on that. We're going to play with a long iron even from the second tee. Doesn't matter if you have a headwind or tailwind. But from the third tee, then we're going to play with a wood club. And as stated, backspin, I do believe that is kind of important to at least give yourself the opportunity to play it in a different way. If you have some tricky wind, you can go and bounce it just on the left from the front bunker over to the pin to kind of like use a long iron with less backspin. But in general, I would say have a long iron with at least 4 to 5 bars of backspin and go with that one directly onto the green to the pin. This is definitely a hole-in-one hole, but have in mind that the green is very bumpy, that it's going to be tough to get it to bounce where you actually want. So as you can see here, also on the text guide, we do have some preferred ball for rookie, pro and expert, and masters. And check out the text guides afterwards. I will just say that now in the beginning as well. There you will be able to see that information that some people have been looking for. So we're going to go to hole number 2. In my opinion, will be the toughest hole for us, especially with some headwind or some side wind. So I will drop the ball over to you again, then RJ. Hole number 2, par 4. How do we play this one?
Well, you know me, I'm Mr. Conservative. So, with how skinny of a fairway we have, and with how close we want to get with with the white line to that black box, we want to get really close to the rough there. I like the quarterback. The quarterback has a nice ball guide and it has the accuracy. So if you hit it great, you won't be sweating bullets. Just make sure if you have a favorable wind that you use a Titan. If not, you might have to use a Kingmaker if you have it. This would be one hole that I would say it's definitely worth it, though. I have a feeling that we'll have a favorable wind, so a Titan should be fine. And for your second shot to get onto the green, I would go with a big dog.
Agree with that totally. I would say like this will be a 50-50 birdie par hole if we do have side wind or headwind from pro and expert and masters, and that is not to express it in a way that it will be really tough. But in the end, if you don't practice on these holes that you can only do on tour 11 and go into this hole where you have a really narrow fairway, you do have 8 bunkers, 4 on the left side, 4 on the right side, and you do have some rough as well, and a ball that will have some inconsistent bounce. It's going to be so tough to be able to manage to do something really good with your drive, and you need to be a little bit lucky for it to stay on the fairway. When you play from the second tee, I think it's very important that you do have a wood club that gives you some distance. And I would say, like, sure, a sniper level 10, but again, if we do have headwind or side wind, I would consider to go with the Guardian, Cataclysm, or the Big Dog. Also to kind of counter for if you do find yourself going short, like accidentally hitting the bunker, bouncing up on the fairway, or accidentally hitting the rough, going short, bouncing up there. So I think that is absolutely needed, and also, like you said, RJ, Titan, Kingmaker, at least when it comes to this one. I will also like to say, as you can say, it's stated on the text guide, said blue line, and the blue line should be there. It has been disappearing for some reason, and I would say short with the blue line. And the blue line is thought of like if we're having tailwind. If we're having tailwind on, especially for expert and masters, then we can use that wind to hook ourselves to the rough, or maybe to the fairway on top, which will give us an easier way to make a birdie because we're removing all the obstacles during the fairway. So it's going to be a very, very tough hole. I say that again. Be happy with a birdie. Sure, in some way I hope we will get some tailwind. That will be easier for us. But in some way I will also have to have headwind to give ourselves some big trouble with this one. So a lot of talk on hole number 2. So I think it's time to go to hole number 3, which is a par 5. Can we make an eagle on this one, RJ?
Well, whew, anything's possible, but yikes. The way I see an eagle being a possibility is if you are able to jump that big span, beyond where you got your first square, where the black line is, where the second, where the white line comes into play. If you can get your ball up there, I think an eagle's definitely a possibility. If not, if you got to play it safe and you want and keep your ball. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my tongue here, guys. Keep your ball in front of that bunker, then taking your second shot. I would go ahead and take I don't know if a big dog would reach if you were to stop there. I'd really like your input on this one. I haven't had too much experience with it, but I have a big dog or a guardian. You know, either would work depending on your approach.
Definitely agree. And the thing is, like, I cross my fingers for having tailwind on this one. The reason for that is the only way to get over the rough there on top. And I would say, in a rookie standpoint, if we do have tailwind and you have some berserkers to spare, or maybe a snow globe or a turbo ball, then you could go with the big topper using max topspin to try to get over there. It was still going to be very tough because you will need some wind to help you. But in the end, if we do have tailwind, I do believe it's time to at least try to get over. And as you can see there, where the white line comes into play, like when we get the first bounce with the top spin that we do have on a driver, to get it over. And I would say in general, from the second tee, you need to have an Apocalypse level 5 or more, or maybe a Thor's Hammer level 6 or 7. It's going to be needed to have a club with a lot of topspin and also some distance already from the beginning. And this hole in particular, it's a funny one because you play downhill with your drive, but you play uphill with your wood club. So the first shot that you have will be affected more by the wind, and then the second shot will be affected less by the wind. So it's a tricky hole, and that's why it's so funny on this one. But I do pray with some tailwind, with headwind or sidewind, we can't go over no matter what we are trying. Then it's just to put ourselves to fairway, then take ourselves over to the second fairway, and then take ourselves to green and hope we will sink it in for an eagle from distance. So, my friends, hole number 4, we go over to a par 3. I actually learned to kind of, got some good feeling from it from practice. But I will, again, as always, dropping the ball over to you, RJ, directly.
Well, this one, thank you, Tommy. You've won me a couple shootouts here because I like to use your text guides when I practice when they come out. And I used to take the white line, and I would end up in the rough or a bunker or something like that. As soon as I seen your black line play, it just kind of hit me. So I am highly recommending that you guys take the black line and the backbone. Use your ball guide to help you guide where you need to go. You want to stay a little bit to the right of the flagpole so you don't lose track of your ball there, making a harder putt or maybe even a chip. But that's the experience I've had practicing this hole in the shootout.
Yeah, this hole, the thing that I kind of like with this one, and that is what I like with all tricky holes, is that you really need to think on where is the best place to place your ball, like in when you aim. And the thing is like here that sure we can use the white line, but then we are playing on a green that is massively uphill, which means that even if you like using, for an example, you're taking a guardian because you would like to have a lot of backspin on your club, you're playing maybe in headwind, for an example, and still you're aiming behind the pin with your ball guideline, but you will still be going short because that push that you will get from first having headwind, then playing uphill, will make the ball fall back down again, and then you could find yourself easily into the bunker or into the rough, and that could be a killer when it comes to this hole. That's why I always play it behind the bunkers and the rough, giving myself the way to use a little bit of topspin on my long iron if I'm playing from the second tee, especially using 1.5 bar of topspin in general, using 1 bar to the side to the right because the green will fall in a little bit to the left. But the importance here is rather go a little bit long than going too short, because you're going too short and you will have an 8, 10, 15 yard putt uphill, which is tough. Or you will have an easy one from the fringe on top, because you have that little hump that you need to get over that is like 5 yards before the pin. So it's a tricky, and it's a hole where you really need to understand how the hole works to be able to get it close. Now I'm talking a lot, and I hope it makes sense in the end, but I really want to make clear with the holes that, again, they are very tough, and when it comes to the adjustment from pro, expert, and masters, and also rookie, it's played accordingly to the ring guide. So you're playing as you know. It's like having a Goliath, for example, that is 2 rings per mile per hour. Then you play it as it is. Like you play it as it is from max distance from the second tee. You take away a little bit from and play medium distance. So you play it as you would be playing it accordingly to the wind guide. So I need to stop talking that much, I believe. But we're going to go to hole number 5. I believe this one will be one of the easier ones in this tournament. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. Hopefully, it's not one of those holes where we have a drop off in the height of where you're landing the ball, because last tournament there were, in I believe holes 8 and 9, there's a lot of people setting up their shots properly if the ground was level, and I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that here. If it is level where your ball takes its first bounce, I like the black line, and if we do have a nice, powerful wind at our back, I would go with the white line, trying to land the ball where the second square is with right curl, or you could take the black line, which in rookie, honestly, we're probably not going to have that kind of wind. But in rookie, I would take the black line. There's that little peninsula there right by the rough and the bunker, and I would put top spin on. Make sure you avoid that tree. You might even put a little bit of curl to make sure that the ball kind of goes around, and then yeah, you have a nice little shot there on the pin for your second shot. So I am recommending the black line, and I'm also bringing clubs with a lot of backspin because all these greens are pretty small and tricky. A big topper could be used as well, if you have no problem hitting perfects.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with the big topper. You can love it, but you can also hate it because it's very hard to be with the basically the zero accuracy on the club. It's going to be very very tough to hit where you want it to land. So I'm after I have been playing this hole maybe 15 times now when they released it again like this Thursday. I'm kind of feeling like if we're not having like a massive headwind, and I'm talking now basically as for pro, expert, and masters. Sorry, pro and expert. Masters will be a little bit differently. That according to the white line, but taking away the first box, like I want you to go over the bunker directly, using a ball that is a Titan or a Kingmaker, giving you yourself some distance, using 3 to 4 bars of topspin depending if you have tailwind or sidewind. Bounce it over with 4 to 5 bars to the side spin to the right. That will put you up for a short iron to the pin, and that will give you a really good chance to make an eagle. Masters is going to be needed to play from the right side if we're not having tailwind, because we can't reach over the bunker on the left in Masters. That will not be possible whatsoever. So in Masters, this hole is going to be very, very tough. And I do believe in the way that this is still one of the easier holes, and we need to give ourselves a shot for the eagle from the fairway. So that is the key for this hole. So, hole number 6 we are at now. This is a par 5, and I will drop the ball over to you, RJ. Like many lines on the screen here, but how do we manage to get this eagle?
Whoa, geez, I am Mr. Conservative, but on this hole, I'm going to be asking you guys still to take the conservative route, but it's not going to seem conservative. Why? Because I am using the black line. I want to hit the ball up at the very top of the fairway, the first fairway there. But then you want to make sure that there's just a little bit of power so you could roll down the little cliff that's rock instead of sand, which would still keep you rolling over the rough and onto the fairway, setting you up for a beautiful second shot. I have a big dog as my wood for the second shot, and I am using top spin on my drive, but I'm kind of judging by the how do I put it? I'm judging by whatever type of winds we get. But you would never hear that out of me. You would never hear me say use a rock or use the rough. But we did last tournament because of watching your video. When there was a par 3 where we literally did a rough bump, rolled over the fairway, rolled over another rough, and man, I almost got so many hole-in-ones with the tips that you gave me. And I got to say, you really nailed it right here. And I cheated. I used his text guide on this particular one because it's ingenious.
I would say thank you. Almost blushing here from Sweden, from the living room. But like, I, it, yeah, it's a tough hole. Hole 6. I say that about every hole. There was actually a friend that asked me, "Can't you rank the holes, Tommy?" Like I said, like everyone is still tough. I don't know how to rank them. It's going to be very hard. After again have been playing this hole a lot, I do see this one to be played in 2 ways, from pro and expert tee, and only 1 way from masters tee, in my opinion. Like pro and expert, we go according to the yellow line. Actually, I almost never say that it's according to the yellow line, but the thing that we need to understand here is that if not having tailwind, we do have a shot that is downhill, which means that the ball will be affected more by the wind, and it's crucial for us to get this shot to the fairway. It's crucial. If we are not getting it to the fairway, we will not reach for the green in 2. Plain and simple. So we need to bounce it on according to the yellow box over there, using 5 to 6 bars of topspin if we have side wind, and we are using max topspin. Even if you're having an Apocalypse level 7, use max topspin if we do have a headwind. With tailwind, we can try to just go all in and bash it right down the middle if we feel accurate enough to do so. It can put us up in a way to have a short iron or a long iron for the pin, but still it's going to be very, very tough for us to make an albatross on this hole. So I would say actually be a little bit more conservative while playing this hole, because it's going to be an important eagle, and I do believe all the par 5s is going to be important important eagle attempts. Hole number 7, my friends, and also in my opinion, one of the easier ones and one of the ones that we really do need to nail down. So, how do we play this one, RJ?
Well, let's see. Hole 7, I have the extra mile. Um, and I also like to go to the left of the little cliff in the sand there, much like your white line. Once again, white line. I do put some top spin on. I also put a little bit of left spin. I don't know. I kind of stay away from curl because curl just, I like the ball guide that you get to have. So maybe a quasar. I don't think that a marlin would be very good for this particular hole for us guys here on rookie. Just make sure you're avoiding both the sand and the rough where you see the snow here, and that'll set you up for a nice second shot. Once again, for hole 7, I have bringing the big dog as your driver. These are some long and narrow courses, and I really have a feeling that people who play conservative, not overly conservative, but conservative, and get the eagles where the eagles are possible and get the birdies where the birdies are possible, have a shot at a top 10 finish. What do you think?
Agree, definitely. I do would say one thing about it is like give yourself a way to stay on fairway. Don't try to do anything really stupid, because that could in one way put yourself in a situation where you land in the rough, will have to struggle to get it to pin, and then in the end you will struggle to get a birdie. This is really a good chance, especially with tailwind. I remember it from the Christmas tournament. We got so a big bunch of tailwind to play this one with. Tried to, and got it to bounce, like, so we had a wedge to the pin sometimes, getting a little bit lucky with that. So tailwind, sure, this one would going to be kind of a fun one, to be honest, and I hope we will get that, because then it would give us a good way to make an eagle, or at least to an attempt. Otherwise, it's the white line all day and every day. Put yourself up there, have a straight shot, bouncing it over the bunker to try to get this one in for an eagle. So, yeah, we're going to go to hole number 8 here, Artie. The last part 3 of the round. Can we bag the hole in one?
Maybe you can. I haven't yet. On this particular one, I like landing on the green. So once again, you guessed it, guys. I am in agreement with the black line, and I would go with the Saturn with I want to say full backspin, but Saturn comes with a really good ball guide. So obviously depending on the wind and everything else, the way you're setting up your shot, I believe you are going to use a fair amount of backspin, and this is, I don't want to say it's easy. It's not easy. It's one of the easier holes in the game. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say so as well. And the thing to have in mind here is like we're playing downhill on this shot, and the ball will be affected by the wind a lot. So, as for an example, if we're having the Guardian, which is play 1.2 per ring, if it's maxed out, and then like 5 rings is 7 miles per hour, we take that as an example. We have 7 miles per hour in wind. We adjust for 5 rings. Then we need to adjust 2 more rings for this one. And that is very strange, maybe, because that is a big over adjustment. But in the end, we don't want to fall short on this one. Use a Guardian if you're playing from the second tee or from the third tee. Third tee also with headwind, then we kind of need to have the rocket in our bag as well to have the backspin to go directly onto the green. And then, of course, rookie, a Saturn would be good, but a leveled up backbone would also be good. Otherwise, try to play from the fairway platform just before. So it's the easier one of the par 3s, at least, that I will have to say. So last but not least, we're going to end up with a par 5 like normal. Hole number 9, we need an eagle. We need an eagle for a top 5, maybe a top 3. So how do we get the eagle, RJ?
This is probably, if you get your drive right, this is probably one of the more higher percentage eagle holes. So definitely take your time, not too much time because the timer will run out. I call this the slingshot hole because you can go to the white line, the left line, you know, you kind of got the fork in the road there. I get a little scared with curl because we lose our ball guide. So with rookie clubs, I like to just take the black line, playing it nice and safe, try to get up as high as you possibly can towards the rough without going in the rough. If you go in the rough, you blew it because your second shot, which is with the big dog, you're going to want to bounce from that island onto the green, putting you on the green for a very easy eagle putt or chip. Or if you get insanely lucky, especially with a big dog, maybe it finds its way into the hole. But on your initial drive, you kind of want to bend it just a little bit, and I do mean a little bit to the left, because the fairway, it looks kind of like a straight line with that black line there, but the rough kind of bends out a little bit. Take advantage of your angle, and that's how I would play hole 9 with the extra mile and the big dog.
Hole number 9, yes. I would say I remember I played this one left side, I believe, every time for Masters because I felt it was very hard to get to the right side without risking going into the rough or into the bunker. And now for Masters, I'm most likely going to play it left side if we are not having headwind or sidewind. Like, if we're having a hard type of wind, we will not be able to reach for that platform if headwind or sidewind, if we are going too short on the left side. So it's going to be interesting to see which type of wind we are getting, but it's well needed to have a wood club with a lot of distance, especially from pro and expert. I would say to go according to the white line. Take that little harder drive, but at least give yourself an opportunity to make it bounce on the platform without having to overpower your shot. So it's going to be a tough one, and like we have been going through the holes now, and the holes, as you can hear, is really technical, is really hard. I don't expect us to see any really high scores. It all comes down to the wind, of course. With a lot of tailwind, then we're going to have a little bit more. I have an easier time to get a higher score, but in general I will have a hard time to see some really good score, but I hope to see them, so I can't wait for the qualifier round to start tomorrow. So yeah, we are done. You feeling all right, RJ? Psyched for tomorrow?
I am feeling very psyched for tomorrow, and in case you guys don't know this little secret, I highly recommend on tougher courses like this one that you purposely don't qualify if you have the bankroll. Two great things will happen by doing that. First of all, you get 9 holes of practice, and you get to do it all over again the next day. You'll be a little more, you'll know the courses a little more. You can take notes and everything, but also you get an awesome deal on balls.
Agree. So I think it's time to end here with some good luck in the New York Classic tournament. If you want to go in and practice, tour number 6 for rookie, tour number 11 for pro and expert. I understand that it is very tough to go in and practice on these tours, especially when none of them are like tours where you can actually play friendly games. So I would like to say thank you, RJ, for doing this with me tonight. And if you haven't done that already, check out RJ's channel. It's RJ TV. So let's get going tomorrow and get some flames in the chat. Happy stroking, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.